This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports.
And here we are, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday morning Dr. Sem Yankees show. This is part, of course, of the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. And let's begin by saying, let's make today a great day. We have it within ourselves every single day to make our days great. We can make them the best they can be. Hey, let's start off real fast by saying how you can make your Thursday the greatest day it can be. On Thursday, there will be a great event at Ramapo College in Mahwah, New Jersey. Roy White, the greatest Yankees left fielder in the world, and there he is with me, will be meeting with me and lots of his fans at Ramapo College in Mahwah, New Jersey at 6:30 p.m. This special event, an evening with Roy White, is going to have Roy White talk about his great career as a Yankee, starting in 1965 and going through 1979. Roy White is the only person in the history that played the entire 1970s with the Yankees. Roy White was arguably the greatest Yankees left fielder of all time. And he played alongside of such greats as Mickey Mantle, Reggie Jackson, Thurman Munson, Greg Nettles, and so many others. Now, after his career with the Yankees, where he was a world champion in 1977 and 1978, he went to Japan. And with the Tokyo Giants of the Yomiuri Giants of Tokyo, won the Japan series. He was teammates there with the great Sadahara Oh. Roy White grew up in Compton, played minor league baseball in the South during segregation, and overcame all of that to become a very successful, wonderful human being and Major League Baseball player. At Ramapo College on November 17th, you will have the opportunity to meet Roy White. The entire event benefits the Roy White Foundation, which provides scholarships to students in college to help them with their first-year college costs. A very noble event, a very worthwhile event. If you are in the Bergen County area, that is an event you don't want to miss. An evening with Roy White. How can you find out about it? Well, you can go to Start Spreading the News. Let me put up the banner here. We're having a little technical difficulties. That's what's taking up a little of my time right here. There we go. And let me get the banner up so you can go to Start Spreading the News. There you go. And if you see the Start Spreading the News site, well, there's a little icon on the right-hand side. You click that. That's how you get your tickets to the great Roy White event. That's this coming Thursday, so less than a week away. Make sure you're there. You'll have a chance to meet Mr. White. You'll have a chance to get his autograph. There's a silent auction. I know there's going to be a signed Mickey Mantle photograph at that auction. So much more. It's going to be a great night. Where else can you meet the greatest Yankees left fielder of all time? And of course, Roy White's autobiography, From Compton to the Bronx, will be coming out in April of 2023. That book is right now being reviewed by lots of authors who are letting me know their feedback on the book. I co-wrote it, of course, with Roy White. And again, that book is getting very positive early feedback. People are loving the book, and I can't wait till it's published and out there for people to enjoy. All right. So you can also see, big week for me last week. Here's my New York City Marathon shirt. I ran the New York City Marathon last Sunday. It was a warm day, and I did not perform as great as I would have wanted, but I did pretty well. I finished in the top 45.6% of all the finishers. So for an old guy, middle age here, mid-50s, To be ahead of most of the rest of the pack? Barely, but ahead of most of the rest of the pack? That's not bad. My time was 4:38:44. I was really hoping for a 4:19, and I think I could have done it. I had a great first half. Probably went out a little too fast, but I should have been able to hang on. My first half was just about 2 hours, so it tells you my second half was very slow. Um, it was high, and it was a tough course, as always. It was my 9th New York City Marathon, my 23rd marathon overall, but it was a great day, and well, I tell you what, I can't wait to be back out there again next November. In the meantime, I plan to run the Pittsburgh Marathon coming up in May of 2023. So that should be exciting. If all goes well, I'm going to run that with my oldest son. That will be his second marathon. He did Philadelphia a year ago. All right, so let's do some Yankee talk. You know, I had this discussion on Start Spreading the News the other day. When you run a marathon, they put your results on a page called results. They don't call it process, they call it results. And this is what I think is one of the big problems with the Yankees. Little over a week ago, the Yankees had their postseason press conference, and in short, they asked Brian Cashman about results. And Brian Cashman basically said, we don't really fire people because of a lack of results. We fire them if we don't bring them back because of a poor process. Now, I think this is where the great divide in Yankees fans come from. The question of process or results. Let's think about it for a moment. Dating back to 1920, when the Yankees acquired Babe Ruth, I'm going to tell you the most consecutive years that the Yankees have gone without a World Series appearance, dating all the way back to 1920, the first year that the Yankees had Babe Ruth. It's really when the Yankees became the Yankees. From 1965 through the 1975 season, the Yankees went 11 years without reaching the World Series. Then, shortly after, from 1982 to 1995, the Yankees went 14 consecutive years without reaching the World Series. The only other times when the Yankees have even gone as many as 5 years without reaching the World Series were from 2004 to 2008, those seasons, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, those 5 years, and then from 2010 till today, which is 13 years. Now let's digest that for a minute. The most ever was that dark period from the 80s into the early 90s, though it could have been shorter if there wasn't a strike, because in 1994, the Yankees were arguably the best team in baseball when the strike hit. But that's neither here nor there. That period was a 14-year period between the Yankees getting to the World Series in 1981 and reaching the World Series in 1996. The second longest period is what we're living through right now, 13 consecutive seasons. Then there was the dark days of the mid 60s, early to mid 70s, 11 years from 65 to 75. And then the only other time that the Yankees even went 5 years, 5 consecutive seasons without reaching the World Series was 04 to 08. So if you go from 04 to 22, that's 18 years out of 19 that the Yankees haven't been in the World Series. So Mr. Cashman has been the general manager that whole time, and he says it's about process, not results. And I think this is where the great Yankee fan divide comes from. What are results? The Yankees have defined themselves This isn't me defining them. This is them defining them. Go to a Yankee gift shop. Put on the Yes Network. Flip through a Yankee yearbook or any Yankees publication. And what do the Yankees talk about? What do they brag about the most? What are they the most proud of? The Yankees seem to be the most proud of the fact that they have been to the World Series and won the World Series more than any other franchise in the history of baseball. And it's not even close. 27 world champions. All right. They've been the World Series champions 27 times, but only once this century, if you don't count 2000 as being part of this century, from 2001 through the 2022 season, they've won one World Series and they've been in only two. Let's think about that for a moment. Wow. If the Yankees market themselves, if the Yankees like to be proud of the fact that they have been to the World Series more than any other team, shouldn't that be the result? Isn't that what the Yankees are all about? So when we talk about process and we say the process is working, I'm saying I'm not sure the process is working. If the Yankees don't make the World Series next year, if they don't, they will tie the longest period in their history since Babe Ruth ever became a Yankee without reaching a World Series. That will be 14 years. And remember, the previous 14, 82 to 95, gets a little asterisk, just a little, because of the fact that there was the strike in 94 when the Yankees were the best team. You could at least assume they might have made it. But regardless, that was a 14-year period. If the Yankees don't make it next year, that again is a 14-year period. But if that 2009 World Series didn't happen, the Yankees had a 5-year period before that, then 2009, then a 13-year period since then. That's 18 of 19 seasons. That's never happened in Yankees history. This is if the results mean a World Series appearance or a World Series victory. This is the absolute worst period in Yankees history if we're defining it by the World Series. And that's how the Yankees define themselves. So again, to tie it back to the marathon, at the end of the race, where they put the finishers, they put them on a page and they call the page results. They don't call the page process. They don't say these runners had a great process up to the day of the race and they did their best and we're proud of them, even if they didn't finish, even if they didn't make their goal. They don't do that. There is no page called process. The page is called results, race results, because it's the results that matter. For a guy like me, the result is crossing the finish line, going across 26.2 miles, however you can get there, going through the streets of New York, or like I said, in May in Pittsburgh, or wherever you're going to run your race. The result is finishing. That's what you're there to do. The Yankees have said, and they market and they make their money, their reputation. It's all based on the fact that the Yankees are a World Series team more often than any other team. The Yankees are baseball's most successful franchise. If that's your definition of result, and it hasn't been happening, and this is one of the worst, if not the worst period, sustained period, as defined by World Series appearances in the history of the Yankees since Babe Ruth came, well, then you're not having results. And then the process itself is a problem. Does that make sense? I think it makes sense. Anyway, on Start Spreading the News, we had a great debate about this, back and forth, lots of people discussing lots of different aspects, which made me then realize that maybe what I'm saying isn't quite what other fans are saying, which of course is true. We all root in our own way. And there will be an article coming up on this. I'm going to dive much deeper into this thought. But basically, here's the way I see it. I think there are really two different camps of Yankee fans. Camp two is the one that I just explained and extrapolated on. It's this idea that the Yankees are defined only by excellence. They're the only team in sports that's defined that way, especially in baseball. It's World Series or not. That's how the Yankees have defined themselves. The team of greatness, the team of excellence. And anything short of that for a sustained period is not good enough. Now, listen, the people in my camp, the people who think the Yankees need to do whatever it takes to get to the World Series, because that's what the Yankees are, and that's how they market themselves, we don't expect, or I don't expect, the Yankees to be in the World Series every single year. No, that's not logical. That's not reasonable. Things happen. In 1954, the Yankees won a ton of games. That was the most amount of games they won in the 1950s, but the Cleveland Indians were a better team. So they went to the World Series. Even when you're great, you're not going to go to the World Series every year. And now with expanded playoffs, the playoffs are going to cause teams to lose. Great teams, the Dodgers. They didn't make it this year. That's going to happen on a year-to-year basis. But overall, when you don't make it for all those years, the longest period in the history of the franchise, that's what we'll tie next year. But if you go by one World Series over 19 years, this is that worst period. Well, then that's not good enough. But there's another camp. There is another camp. There is another philosophy. And that other philosophy says the Yankees have been primarily since the early 1990s a competitive team. They have basically been in the playoffs virtually every year since, 1995. And again, they probably would have been in the playoffs in 1994. There was a period, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016, where the Yankees weren't making the playoffs. They had one wild card appearance against the Astros and lost in one game. But primarily, besides that, the Yankees have been one of the better teams in the American League and have reached the playoffs. The question is the Yankees then haven't been able to get past or through the playoffs. And this has been especially true under Aaron Boone. Aaron Boone is able or has been able to get the Yankees to win 90 to 100 games or so every single year. And then every single year, the Yankees lose in the playoffs. For some people, that is the result. They say, Paul, you're wrong. It's not, it's about process and results, and the results are there. The process is working. The Yankees are winning the division or finishing in second place, and they're reaching the playoffs every single year. What more can you ask for? Anything can happen in a short series. And for the Yankees, unfortunately, they haven't been able to bridge the gap to get through the many rounds of playoffs that keep changing, by the way. They're still one of the best teams. The process is working. They're competitive. The results are the fact that they keep getting to the playoffs. So there are results. That's camp one. Camp two is the results aren't good enough. That's my camp. The Yankees aren't there. Why aren't they there? They're not there because they're making bad decisions. The Yankees, and here's the problem this winter, and we're going to talk a whole lot about this, and we say this every week, but we're going to talk a whole lot about this. The problem is, and again, I'm having some technical difficulties, so people are putting comments in. I'm not sure I can see them all. Okay. It's fine. We're doing okay with that. The The problem is the Yankees are going to have to make a big decision with Aaron Judge. Now, in my opinion, I think the Yankees could have been a World Series team if they were willing to spend some money back in 2017 on Justin Verlander, a couple of years ago on Bryce Harper. Manny Machado was out there. Freddie Freeman was out there. Seems like they could have been able to pick up Francisco Lindor. There were a whole bunch of great shortstops last winter. The Yankees continually go close, but they don't go all in. They wade in the deep end, but they don't go all in. And if you don't go all in and then you don't reach the World Series, I say that's part of the problem is the process. The process isn't working. And if the process isn't working, if we're going to define World Series as working, then something's wrong. And I think something's wrong. And here's the problem with Aaron Judge. If the Yankees sign Aaron Judge to a huge contract, because that's what it's going to take, of course, and then they don't fill in all the pieces around him with other great players, they're not going back to the World Series. The fan base will be appeased. They'll say, yes, we have Aaron Judge. That's great. But if they don't have the pieces around him, they're still not going to have World Series appearances. And that's my worry. They'll invest heavily in Judge and then not pick up the other pieces around him. I'm starting to think of what the Yankees should do or will do or can do if, in fact, Judge decides to sign with another team. If Aaron Judge goes to the Mets or the Dodgers, or some people believe the San Francisco Giants, how can the Yankees replace that production? There might be some ways. There might be some creative ways. But I think the Yankees are really at a turning point. I think that turning point came a few years ago when they decided not to sign Bryce Harper. But I think the Yankees are again at a turning point where they're going to have to make a big decision about this team. Invest in Judge or not. And then even if you do or you don't, how are you going to build a competitive team? Right now, that competitive team is built around Aaron Judge. If he doesn't come back, they have to replace him. But again, even if they do bring him back, Aaron Judge by himself isn't enough. It's going to be a fascinating winter. The Yankees need to become the team that goes all in, completely and totally all in. Now, the Yankees also have Anthony Rizzo as a free agent. Will he come back? Another big question. That's something we'll discuss in the coming weeks, of course. There's a great website called Major League Baseball Trade Rumors, and they're running a contest this winter where you have to pick where the top 50 free agents are all going to land. That seems like a great contest. I entered. I made my picks. I won't tell you what they are. You go in there, make your own picks. They're actually giving out prizes, too, to the people who make the best picks, so that's kind of fun. The Yankees are counting a lot on Anthony Volpe to be the great Yankees shortstop. This is one reason they didn't go out and get any of the big shortstops last year. It's probably the reason they're not going to go after a guy like Xander Bogaerts of the Red Sox this year. And if Anthony Volpe is as great as the Yankees hope he is, that's going to be a great thing. I am reminded of a period of time just 5, 6, 7 years ago when the Yankees had two great shortstops in the minor leagues, Gleyber Torres and Jorge Mateo, and neither one of them really panned out. I worry a lot when the Yankees say this next group of minor leaguers is going to be the ones who make the team great. We've heard this a lot. These kids coming up, they're the best. And then they come up and they're not. So it'll be interesting to watch Anthony Volpe to see if he develops into that great player. All right, we're just about at the bottom of the hour. Time goes quickly. Lots to talk about always. It's so much fun to talk Yankees baseball. I want to thank every one of you for tuning in every week. My dear friends, November 17th, next Thursday night, Ramapo College, an evening with Roy White. I promise this is an event you don't want to miss. You get to meet Roy White, the greatest Yankee left fielder in history. You get his autograph, and you hear his inspiring story of his inspiring life. Don't miss it. Thanks for tuning in. 8 o'clock this morning. Don't forget. 8 o'clock this morning, the Mac, Jack, Doc, and Pags debate show. We'll see you then. Have yourselves a wonderful day.